Okay, welcome back everybody. I'm Gavin Pickin. I'm a software developer, do a lot of JavaScript and CFML, and today I'm doing another daily coding challenge. So I started this coding challenge about a week or so ago, just trying to get myself doing a little daily puzzle, and I'm using the Codewars website to do so. So if you want to check out my playlist, you'll see some from previous days, some JavaScript, some CodeFusion. Having a little fun here, just trying to get the brain working and develop a couple of skills that I may not normally use. So today we're going to do a what's my golf score. Now it's pretty funny when you're talking about Codewars and katas and you talk about code golf. Usually what it means is you want to get the least number of characters you can. And if you search for golf on the katas here, you'll actually find some where you have to do 14 characters or less, or 20 characters or less, or 80 characters or less to do a solution. This one here is a golf one, but this time it's actually real golf. Let's talk about golf scores like on the golf course. So number of pars and your scores, and try to figure out what your actual golf score is. So what they're going to do here is going to give us a bunch of numbers, and we have to basically figure out what your golf score would be. So if you look at the sample test here, I'm going to blow it up a little bit bigger for you. Hold on. So you'll see at the bottom here we have a couple of arrays, or actually strings. So you get a string of numbers and another string of numbers. The first string of numbers is the part list. So on the first hole is a par 4, the second hole is a par 4, third is a par 3, etc. So what happens is they give you a par scores, and then you write your list down of your scores. So looks like they got a birdie on the first hole, a bogey on the second hole, par on the third. So when the par is 4 and you get 3, you got a birdie. If the par is 4, you got 5, it's a bogey. And so overall you're counting your score to par. So if you shoot 100 and the par is 72, then you're 28 over. If the par is 70 and you shoot 65, then you're 5 under. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. What you could do if you wanted to is work through the array and figure out what the par is and what your score is for every single hole. And so you could be -1 and then +1 and then sum them all together. Well, you can do what most golfers do and just count their scores as they go, sum them all up. Once you got your total, like I said, you got 100, take away par, which may be 72, and you got a score of 28. So that's what we're going to do. So let's write it out first, and then we'll see if we can make it a little cleaner and smarter. So what we have to do is we have to figure out if all the par scores put together, what's the par for this golf course. So we have par list, which is a string. So we can either loop through the array doing a for each or something, or we can do a trick that a lot of people in JavaScript use. It's a split. So if you split a list, it'll split a list into an array. So what you have to do is tell it what delimiter do you want. So in this case we're going to do an empty string, and that will actually give us an array of all those items. So now once we have an array, then what we need to do is figure out what the sum is. So if you're doing functional programming, if you want to get a whole bunch of things in an array and basically do something with them and end up with a single result, you're going to reduce that array from an array to a single value. So we're going to do a reduce on here. Now in the reduce, we're going to get a function. That function is going to have a sum and a value. And then we're also going to have the starting point for the reducer. So we're going to start from 0 and sum them all up. And once we've got there, once we've done that, inside the curly braces we're going to return the sum plus the value, and that's going to give you the total for that. So we could actually say course par score equals, and then I'm going to cheat here a little bit, and I'm going to do your score. So your score is going to do the same thing but to the score list. So it's going to split it to separate the string into an array of every number. Then for every number we're going to loop through this reduce. So we're going to start with a 0 as our sum. We're going to add every value as we go through by returning the sum plus the value, and when we're done we'll have a total. So we're going to put a semicolon on the end there. Semicolon there. Okay, so now what we can do is if we return your score minus the PA score, or course PA score, we should have our answer. So let's run our sample test. Ooh. So what happened there? So instead of -1, we got a really big number. So something didn't work quite right there. -9,000. That's pretty interesting. Just for safety, I'm gonna put some JavaScript in here. Oops. I hit a button that I shouldn't have hit. Now I've got some weird insert stuff going on. Okay, sorry about that. Let's try running this again here. Okay, so I'll score this dot split dot reduce. So let's just see if we have 0 minus PA score. Let's see what it gives us here. Well, I really made a mess of this one. Okay. Let me just try something here. Not sure why it's misbehaving, so I'm going to do some shorthand here. So I'm going to refactor this in case this is actually part of the problem. Okay, I just want to be able to see this a little better. So just to wrap this up here, I'm going to wrap the entire thing in a quote there. We'll see if this works any better. Oh, I really made a mess of this. So it looks like obviously it's not actually doing what it should do. So the PA score, the course PA score, is not actually reducing at all, which is strange. Why is it not like me? Okay, so we'll go through this again. Pilot.split dot reduce. In the reducer we have the function that returns s plus v. Okay, let's see this. Okay, I'd forgotten about this. So we're splitting a string into an array, so it's giving us an array of strings. So that's my problem. So what I'm going to do here is do a trick. So you can do this. 1 times s plus 1 times v. And this should work. We can also do pass int on each of these as well, but we want to get this down as small as we can. We can try and remove some characters. So now we have the pass score list and we have the your score. So what we're going to do is going to shorten this up a little bit here. So we're going to return So now we're going to have the score list, split, reduce, and then we're going to minus the par list. So let's try this, see if this works. Okay, so now we have another trick here I'm going to show you. So we could do s minus v. So what that does is it actually, 2 minuses make a positive, so you still get to add them. Now if we do this, we're actually going to get an error. So I'm going to show you. Run the sample test. You get an error. But if you put a space between those, it knows that it's not anything special. It's minusing a negative number. Now it passes. Apparently you can actually do something with like this, with a plus as well. And that'll work as well, which is kind of weird. But I think I like the space a little better here. So now here we can return. We can make this a little shorter too if we want, but I think I'll just take some spaces out of here. We'll see if somebody else has a better solution. So even though we're doing this one where it's actually just a golf score, not a golf test, this type of code is what you'll basically be looking for when you're doing a type of code golf score. But let's see what happens when you attempt it. Looks like everything passed. Average after 25 rounds of golf is 0.96 above par. They need some improvement. Hey, I'd be happy with that much above par, below par, I'll tell you that much. So we're going to submit it and we'll see what everybody else does. Oh, so look. So right here they're doing a spread operator on the score list. That's pretty interesting. So spread operator to make into an array. Then they're reducing it with the result, the score, and the index. And then the result plus or minus the score minus the par list index. So they're actually doing, for each one, they're looping through and getting the item from the score and the par list, but using the index and comparing them. So that works. I like using the spread operator. I always forget about that one. So that's pretty cool. Here they're doing a loop, so they're looping through everything and then adding the values together for each one. Interesting. So they're plus or minus thing. Plus equals and minus. I guess the shorthand means that the strings would kick in. Okay. I didn't know you could do this. So here they're doing the a dot split instead of parentheses. They're just putting the characters right after it. They're using backticks for it. Then dot reduce, CDE, and they're doing the numbers like we had. So it's a little shorter. I like that. We're using the index to get to the second array and match that. Here they're doing this for each and getting the sum, and then subtracting them from each other. Here they're using a spread operator. and they actually made a function that would handle it for them, so they could pass those in and sum one minus sum the other. Pretty nice too. A couple of for loops here, just calculating it. So nothing too special. So yeah, that's a pretty easy one, but let me show you some of the avocados here. We'll do a search for golf. So here, you got, is it uppercase? So here, you got 9 characters to see if this is uppercase or not. That's pretty crazy, especially when half of it's the function definition. You also got the most consecutive zeros in a row, code golf. This one, write a code golf scoring function. It's like, so this one actually helps you. You got to write one that will actually count somebody's code and figure out what the score is. This one here is what I just did earlier. So here you got to sum all the values of the input strings with no more than 14 characters. Let me just train again to show you this one. So here, you basically have to do the math on these 2 strings and get this value. So I'm going to challenge everybody to go do this one. It's not too difficult, especially with some of the things I taught you in the one I just did. So I hope everybody had fun. Go try some of these code golf ones, see if you can get the smallest amount of code. They're pretty tricky, some of them, that's for sure. Definitely test your knowledge of the language. Go give it a try, and talk to you all tomorrow. Have a good one, and have fun on Codewars. Bye, everybody.